Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of the FLG Golf Podcast. I'm your host, Marc Bosch. Prepare to go on multiple journeys with Chris Farley, a dear friend and adventurer in life, in fitness, and in golf. Chris is a wayfarer. And the definition of this is someone who is seemingly on a constant journey of some sort. So while most commonly associated with physical travel that Chris will describe in this episode, a wayfarer often also embodies a deeper metaphorical journey, something intellectual, spiritual even, as they move through different phases of their life. When I knew Chris in Singapore, you could not describe him as a golfer. Didn't have clubs. The main reason that he joined us on the occasional golf trip was because we would drink quite heavily, and Chris is very good at that. During COVID, Chris sadly returned to the UK and struggled to find work in his field, but the essence of a wayfarer is that of moving forward, discovering and embracing the unknown. And this is Chris to a T. He landed in golf retail, which ignited something that is evident when we start to dig into the technical specifics of club fitting, as you'll see. And this also enabled him to apply a lot of elements of his fitness background, operations, and customer service. He now has a burgeoning new career. So out of seemingly nowhere, Chris is now a single-digit handicap and is the club fitting instructor for the south of England for Europe's largest golf retailer. So how did this happen? The FLG Golf Podcast exists to shine a light on, perspectives and people in golf who are outside of the professional tour or major media spotlight, because that's the golfing reality that I exist in. And if you're listening to this podcast, that's very likely the reality that you exist in also. There's a huge community to learn from and draw inspiration from. And in interviewing Chris, not only did I learn a shitload about club fitting, which for as much as I love golf, I've never properly considered or understood it, but it's an inspiring story of someone like you and me who's made the best of an unfortunate situation and actually found something that they're really uniquely suited for in golf. So in the next hour, hopefully you'll find much to laugh at and learn from or be inspired by. For slightly better audio quality, listen to the audio-only version wherever you get your podcasts, or just bear with the YouTube versions until episode 5 when we finally get better microphones. I'll shut up now. And without further ado, Chris Farley. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of the FLG podcast. This is another special day. Who we have here, you're about to meet shortly. He's the man I think of when I think of just a hot, steamy number 2. And I couldn't think of anyone better to be our deuce, Il Duce, the Duke. His name is Chris Farley. Chris, hello and welcome.
Hey, Mark. Hey, guys. How you doing? Happy to be here.
So I am wearing a very special lid today. It's obviously an Oregon State University Beavers hat, but the moment I saw this in an OSU store on a West Coast road trip once, I had to buy it because at the time, Chris and me and a number of other fine gentlemen and ladies were all living in a place in Singapore, a 2-story square, painted lavender, almost like a frat house, but not really, a place for young professionals in Singapore.
Yes.
Called the Beaver Loft. And
the purple house on the corner. Yes.
Beavers. That is who we are. That is who we will always be. And the best friends that I have ever had and ever will have potentially have all come from this like housing unit where we each spent a year and a half or maybe even a little bit longer, or a little less of our lives. And Chris is no longer in Singapore. A lot of the Beaver family have kind of gone their separate ways, wound up in Indonesia and France and throughout the UK and elsewhere.
That house was an absolute epic, just amalgamation of just entertaining professionals and great minds, and some obviously not so, but because it was a big house. But I think the core crew has definitely stayed in touch, and I'm very, very proud of that friendship circle. So yeah, it was cool to be a Beaver and live in the Beaver house. Yeah, the Beaver Loft, in fact.
Chris, at the time you were managing a Virgin Active gym in Singapore, is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, well, I started off initially. I was managing. I was general manager for Fitness First Asia. So I was over there managing various health clubs for them, whether it be just a standalone Fitness First Platinum gym, which is the top premium end of Fitness First
Literally
globally.
the top of the Capita Green building in Singapore, 2 floors, the most
Yeah,
luxurious gym you could ever
yeah,
imagine. I think one of the
yeah,
complaints that your gym people had was that the speed bump in the basement was a bit too harsh for his Lambo to come in and
yeah.
park.
Correct.
That's the kind of
Yeah.
crap we're
So
talking about.
yeah, so that was one of the projects I was placed into for C-level executives, and so I had a fantastic 10 years in Singapore, managing health clubs, and then I moved over to Virgin Active eventually. But yeah, that was my previous kind of endeavor, but things have changed a little bit and progressed a little bit now.
So after COVID, Singapore became your past residence, and tell us where you've moved to now, personally and professionally.
Yeah, sure. So I miss the heat in Singapore, but I now reside in sunny Bournemouth in the UK, in England, on the south coast. So it's where I was born and bred, in a county called Dorset. And my career now has really evolved. Now, I come from a rich background of biomechanics, physiology, anatomy, and sports medicine and coaching. And when I came back to UK, obviously, anything related to health and fitness or people expiring or sweating or breathing on each other was just completely shut down. So, that was a kind of a forced sabbatical when I came back. And then I took a few different stop-start jobs as general managers in a few other businesses around the UK. And, I think the fitness industry in general globally, but also in the UK, just got absolutely ravaged by COVID. So, financially, just emotionally and morally, the businesses were really struggling.
Yeah.
So, when I came out of Singapore and came to UK, it was a very different environment, it was a very different landscape. And I think a lot of the businesses reflected that. So it didn't quite work out. I kind of lost my mojo and my passion, I guess, for fitness. And given
maybe not passion for fitness, but passion for the commercial aspect of fitness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So
you haven't let yourself go physically. I can see that. Yeah.
No, I'm still fairly nimble. But no, then I kind of took a role just as a stopgap initially. And, I've always, loved golf. I haven't taken it too seriously in the past until I came back to the UK. Well, actually, we'll get into this, but you were the one that really inspired me to get back into golf. But when I came back to the UK and took those stop-start jobs that didn't quite work out, I was like, well, thought to myself, I had so much time to think and I was like, well, what do I want to do? And what do I enjoy? And what am I going to be passionate about and be able to put my energy passionately into? And what can I see myself doing for the next 20, 30 years? And I was like, well, golf is a really solid environment. It survived COVID very strongly. It still draws on my experience, but I took just a sales advisor role in a golf retail business. And then I think I was back in early 2022. That role evolved very quickly, and I was placed, given the opportunity to do some custom fitting, which is the service that we offer there. And turns out my biomechanics, coaching, and anatomy, physiology, and also my sales and service background was really, really fucking good, for custom fitting. So I soon became one of the custom fitters, and then I soon became one of the top sellers in the country, and then within time, I got offered the opportunity to take up a regional role within American Golf, which is the name of the company. Even though they're based in the UK, they're called American Golf, and they're the largest golf retailer in Europe. And I became the regional custom fit trainer for the south of England, basically.
Awesome.
So everywhere from Exeter to Canterbury, Cardiff to Camberley.
Wait a minute, Googling. Let me Google something. You're from Dorset, right here. I want to look at some of the gorgeous imagery here. Just living on the coast. Amazing, beautiful. Amazing stuff. Yeah. What are you drinking?
Just a cup of coffee, waking up. You're the first person I've spoken to today. So apologies if my voice is a bit hoarse and blah,
This is what I'm drinking right now. It's 4:30 in the afternoon here in Singapore. I'm about to crack open a Kronenbourg Blanc.
It's too early for me to have one of those, man. I'm going to stick with coffee, but you enjoy that, and I'm sure in the humidity and heat that tastes great.
Well, look, Chris, if you're only having one a day, does it matter what time you have it?
This is true. And if you can't be drunk all day if you don't start in the morning. So.
When you're on the course, what do you like to drink?
Scotch, single malt, nothing younger than 12 years is normally my go-to.
I'm going to segue into our first ad read, Chris. I don't know if you know about this, but we're sponsored by the Beer Pioneer here in Singapore. So this is Singapore's best craft beer subscription box. During COVID, this was an absolute lifesaver for me. I'm never a picky beer drinker, but I love to explore and I love to try craft beers. And basically for under $70 a month, Beer Pioneer will send you a box on the first few days of each month. No commitment, cancel any time. I've paused my subscriptions when the boxes accumulate, and you just go back into the app and you restart it. It's super easy. You choose your flavor profiles, which can be like, your specialty beers, like your chocolate porters and your other ones. You can choose your session ales, which are a lot lighter and sort of easier to drink. So if you're into beer and you're into exploring and you maybe don't know what you like, honestly, Beer Pioneer is an awesome subscription service if you're in Singapore. Give us 2 truths and a lie about yourself to let people get to know you. Say 3 things, give me one, and I'll try to guess which one is false.
So I'm a very adventurous person, and sometimes on adventures you get injured, and I actually have a tattoo that keeps me safe and it reminds me to be safe every single day. Okay, that's the first fact. The second fact is that in my golfing career, I've had 5 hole-in-ones. And the third fact is that I once took a vacation or a holiday to go to Kabul, Afghanistan.
Wow. Okay. Tiger Woods could come on the show and tell me he had 5 hole-in-ones, and I would tell him he was full of shit. So I think that is a lie. Am I accurate?
Yes, you are. I have
you gotta lower that bar, man. Next time.
Zero hole-in-ones.
Well, I do not have a hole-in-one either.
No.
Now the tattoo I definitely know about. It is a Mr. Bump holding a glass of whiskey. Is it somewhere on your body that you can flash on the camera?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so it's on my right arm, which is what I use to brush my teeth, and every day I brush my teeth. It's just a reminder. I don't know if you can see that there because the light. It's a reminder just to stay safe. Yeah. And I wouldn't say I'm accident prone, but injuries and accidents tend to be attracted towards me. But that's just because I have a yes mentality.
Putting you on the spot.
I think top 3, I'd say probably the most gnarliest was jumping into a swimming pool head first and almost breaking my neck because I got the depth of the swimming pool wrong. So that was a pretty gnarly one, and that left me with a little bit of regret after that one. I would say the other injury would be a broken ankle, which needed reconstruction. So it was a 4-in-1 injury, and that was because I used to do a lot of long distance running, kind of like ultra marathons or adventure racing, and do a lot of fitness. I used to be an absolute fitness madman, and so my left ankle had to be completely reconstructed, and that was a pretty gnarly accident. And I'd say the third one would be the third one. There's so many. I almost lost my left arm as a kid in a car accident. So that was that was a pretty gnarly one as well. So there's many more. I think if I just went through the bones I've broken, I think my nose is still broken. I've broken my jaw 7 times. I've got 3 nails in this finger. I've broken my left wrist, my right elbow, about 8 ribs. Obviously my left ankle, and almost my neck. And I think that's about it. Can you attribute
most of these injuries to a specific leisure activity, aside from just sort of being drunk and foolish?
Well, I was going to say drinking alcohol. I would say not really, no.
Like you're not a motocross rider, right?
Everything from riding a jet ski to jiu-jitsu, The finger was kind of like a drunken grappling kind of endeavor, and the left ankle was very health and fitness and endurance running based. But it's just from being adventurous, and I think you'll know this from me, Mark. I always take a yes mentality. Like, hey, Chris, do you wanna go? You wanna go climb a mountain? Yeah. You wanna go climb a mountain in Afghanistan? Yeah, I do. And I had some crazy adventures. I accidentally walked through a minefield. I got held at gunpoint twice. But I had a fantastic adventure, and I've got pictures to prove it, and it was kind of before video was good quality, and I've got some grainy footage of me and my friend Lawrence and my dear friend John, who sadly passed away. He was a mountaineer, so that was a different story, but I've got this grainy video of us at the top of the Kabul mountain, TV mountain, where the armed guards are telling us never to come back again.
When you're home, where do you play golf? What's your local track?
So my local track is where my store is based and where I work out of. Is a club called Christchurch Golf Club. They've got a mini golf. They've got the 18-hole course. They've got a 9-hole par 3, and they've got a 2-tier driving range. They've got a gym, and they've also got simulator bays as well. So it's a real destination golf environment, and that's where I work. So I play there the most. But I think my favorite course in the UK or in my local kind of area would be a course called Hamptworth.
How often are you playing golf then?
So in the winter I've been grinding, so I've been hitting the range 2 or 3 times a week during the winter just to keep my hand in, but even in the summer I'll probably play once a week on the course, maybe twice a week if I can, but then I'll also supplement it with at least a couple of range sessions every week as well.
So once summer comes around, are there some places on your bucket list this year that you want to tick off?
This year, me and my brother, we're looking. We haven't got them yet, but we're going to get tickets for the BMW Open at Wentworth.
Oh, awesome! That was one of my favorite tournaments to watch last year. That was Rory and Billy Horschel going down. Yeah. They did a playoff. Yeah. Billy went. I think they did 3 playoff holes or 2 playoff holes. He went birdie eagle to beat Rory, who went birdie on 17 and 18. Or I think they kept playing 18 and that was that was the one where Rory had so many sort of near misses just last year, even though he had a handful of victories. But when Billy Horschel nailed that 30-footer on 18 for the eagle to beat him, like, it wasn't a look of elation. It was like, Rory, I am so sorry. Like, he looked right at Rory, and he had this just
Billy's a great guy,
sort of feeling so bad, but just a real mix of emotions. I'd never seen a reaction like that on the golf course, and it kind of spoke to the year that Rory had as well, but also how nice of a guy sort of Billy Horschel.
Well, they're both really emotional and emphatic guys, right? But that was a great round, and the Wentworth is only about an hour and a half away from here.
Amazing.
But last year, me and my brother Andy, we drove up to Royal Troon for the Open up in Scotland. Yeah. It was a 10.5-hour drive all in all, but we broke it up with a few stop-offs, and I think we played a course.
Caught up with another member of a Beaver family on the way there.
We did. Shout out Alex Jackson. But we played a beautiful course on the coast up in Northumberland on the east coast of England called Dunstamborough Castle. It's linksy. It's on the coast, east coast. That castle that you saw just there is a 700-year-old castle.
Wow.
That castle there. So that's a 700-year-old castle, and
Holy
that's their, you're par 3 and you're playing into the castle just in front of it.
Okay.
It is
so this is a hole, and the castle just overlooks whatever this green is, right on this cliff coast.
Yeah, that castle's been there. That castle was there when the Vikings invaded. So that's how old it is. And it's a beautiful course. It's very affordable. And that's in Northumberland. So, but that was last year with me and my brother Andy.
I've got to Google this. So this is, it's on the east coast of England.
East coast.
The North Sea coast. Okay, that explains the Vikings. Right.
The Vikings literally would have come straight into there. And there's a lot of history there. So you can read up on that. And it's...
and you're right here in Bournemouth on the southern coast.
True. Yeah, that's correct.
Amazing. Amazing. So, okay, great. You are now a golfer. You are now a professional club fitting trainer.
Yes.
Bring us along your golfing journey, like from start to its various stages of evolution until today.
Yeah. So I've always been a keen sportsman, and you give me any ball to hit, run, chase, or throw, and I'm there. So when I was younger, my dad had an old set of golf clubs, but he was left-handed. So the only golf clubs that me and my brother Andy could ever get our hands on was maybe one old, pitching wedge and some old driver or 3-wood. And so that's how it kind of began. And then I kind of didn't play golf for a long time. I could always hit a golf ball, not well, but I could always hit a golf ball. And with no real understanding of what I was doing, it was just natural to me, just to swing the golf. I'm kind of like, I'm very visual. So if I see you do something, yeah, I can do that too. And then I didn't really play golf seriously until I met yourself in Singapore, and I followed the FLG, the golf boys, and we had some very fun golf trips in Asia, whether it was in Singapore or Malaysia or Indonesia.
Yeah.
It was very boozy. You got me back into golf, so I started come along to these golf trips. I had no clubs at the time, and I would just rent a set at the golf club. And then I was, those are a few very boozy trips. And then I kind of came back to, after those trips, I was like, well, I could do better than that. And maybe if I didn't drink as much, I could score better. And I can see these guys doing it, and I can do that. So then I was very lucky to be working with a good golfer called Henry. And he was like in his 60s and played off single figures or something stupid, but he gifted me basically a set of old Ping S59 irons, some old rusty Vokeys that still had the serial numbers on them. And then I bought a cheap, I think it was a Nike driver at the time, and then I upgraded it to a Ping, and he also gave me a couple of Titleist 915 hybrids, which was fantastic. And then I was able to really go down the range.
This is all a starter set, just
nothing. I gave him some money for it.
Okay.
I think it was very low price, but I gave him some money. But that allowed me to go down the range and meet you guys at Laguna driving range. And then I spent countless hours just on my own as well, just chilling out, hitting balls, or with you guys down at the range, having a few beers and some food and having some fun.
Let's crank up the Wayback Machine here for just a moment.
Okay.
I'm going to share my screen. Sharing screen now. You can see this. This is the FLG Easter Scramble. So under the FLG banner, we did 3 awesome tournaments in that first year. As you can see, this T-shirt, it is a rabbit, 2 rabbits, in coitus, and a heart and a golf ball. Basically, that is fucking love a golf is what that is.
I've still got one of those somewhere.
There's you and me right there. What a day that was. And I think this here that I'm about to play is from that day. We may not have audio, but this is just water.
Yeah. So
pouring through the foot pedals.
Amazing.
No
Indonesia.
shoes.
No shoes. So much water on the cart path. It's coming up through the pedals of the golf cart. You're talking tropical storm. Probably shouldn't have been out there because of the lightning risk. Yeah. But we were just like, let's go, let's carry on, let's have some fun because we fucking love golf.
And because it's Asia, so when it rains here, it often just rains for, maybe an hour, but it'll rain a day's worth in an hour. But then the sun comes out and the clouds are gone and you're back on the course and it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's also warm rain, which is very different to England. Very different to England. And
then this is you and me and a wonderful man, Craig, at the 9-hole executive golf course here in Singapore that I still play a ton now. That's primarily where I play my golf now that the Marina Bay course is gone. And this is basically the last round I think that you and I played pre-COVID before you left Singapore.
That's true. Yeah, that's the last round in Singapore I ever played. We teed off like just before sunrise.
Yeah.
I think we did shotgun a few beers maybe just for good measure. But no, I really got fun memories of that final round as well. And my swing has developed a lot from there.
Okay, so now bring us back to post-COVID. Now you're in the UK. Your entry point into golf again.
Sure. So entry point into golf. So I actually spent the money to ship my shitty set of golf clubs over because I was like, they're my golf clubs. I can't, I have to play golf when I get back. Yeah. So, obviously coming back to lockdown, golf, you were still able to play golf in the UK. You couldn't go down the range, but you could still play on the course. And so I wasn't working because the whole country was closed and I couldn't, no one was hiring. So I just either hit balls or played golf with my brother most of the time.
Yeah.
And my brother gifted me, he was nice enough to see that I needed some better irons, and he actually bought me a secondhand set of Mizuno JPX 900 forged iron sets. And that they were in like extra stiff as well, because I was a bit stronger back then, and I was swinging quite fast, and they were beautiful irons to get me going. And then the journey kind of took off. I was playing golf. I was either on the golf course or hitting balls on the range. COVID lifted, playing even more, loving it, and just trying to figure it out. It's having an anatomy and physiology background in biomechanics. I know what the movement systems are, and I know what I should be doing. So I was really working hard at it. And
what are you benching these days, Chris?
What am I benching? My hopes and dreams. I'm not pushing weights anymore. I've got I do have a little gym set up in the house where I have a pull-up bar, dip bars, dumbbells, and an easy bar. But I'm not necessarily in the gym benching anymore.
Take us back to Saudi when you were at your most beastly and experimenting with chemicals of various kinds. What was your physique like? Dubai. Yeah. What was your peak physique, and where's your ideal steady state compared to that?
Peak physique. So I got two peak physique. So I've got my running peak physique, and then I've got my gym bro Chad peak physique. So
apologies to all Chads out there, but
they'll get over it. They'll get over it. So my peak running physique is probably anywhere between about, I'm going to say kilograms, because that's just what I know from my industry. So about 75 kilograms, around, maybe a bit lighter. And that just means that I can run like a Duracell bunny. My cardio, I've got a bit of an engine in me, and even though I don't run as much as I used to, I can still happily run 5 to 10K without really worrying about it too much.
So for reference point, I'm a rather doughy Westerner with thin legs and thin arms, but plump in the middle. I mean, if I was all shredded up, I just wouldn't be as cuddly and warm. So I think it's better as the family man that I am now to my current physique. But I'm 86 kilos, and I'm about between 83 and 86 is me. So you were 75. That's pretty svelte, and you're not taller than me by very much.
No, I'm just on
You're
6 foot,
5'10"?
about 5'11"-ish, on a good day.
175, 180 centimeters?
Yeah. At 180, exactly, at 180. So that would be my running physique. But when I was at my heaviest and in my gym bro phase and bulking dramatically, I was probably, and I when I was training, my body fat that I'd walk around with was anywhere from 6 to 9%, just naturally.
Below 10% is like not critically low, but that's like very difficult to maintain, right?
It is, yeah. But I'm also a qualified and trained nutritionist as well, so I'm very aware of what I do and what I eat and what I put in my body, for better or for worse. But when I was pushing a lot of weights, I think my heaviest was maybe up at about 84 to 85 kilos of just pure muscle. And that was, at a very low body fat percentage as well. And I was probably benching, quite comfortably about 110 kilos. I was probably doing pull-ups with about 30 kilograms wrapped around my waist. And I was very, very, very ripped and very like a bit Johnny Bravo.
Yeah.
But then I didn't like it, because then when I went back to running, my knees and my ankles just did not like it.
There's an ideal physique for a recreational golfer, not a pro golfer. Say between 10 and 20 handicaps. What would be a great sort of body type style? Or are there many?
It's a really good question, Mark. But one thing I've learned from not just over 20 years in the health and fitness industry and the most recent handful of years in the golf industry is that, hey man, you are you, and that you shouldn't try to be anyone else but you. And if you play golf and you're a slightly bigger guy, or if you play golf and you're a tiny girl, it doesn't matter what size you are. It matters about what's going up in your head, how much you believe in yourself, how confident you are. Look at Scotty Scheffler's swing. It's the most unconventional swing in the world. And then look at someone like, John Daly, look at his physique. So and then you look at Akshay Bhatia, who's like a rake.
Yeah.
So you don't need a particular build as an ideal golfer. So I think, if you can play golf well standing on your head, play golf standing on your head. If you can play golf, well in any physique, then do it in any physique. Yeah.
Okay, so this may be a really good segue into the club fitting part. So say you've got 3 different body types and player styles that walk in. You've got sort of a newbie, say that young girl, right, coming into it, or say an average older bloke, sort of not a great body type for most things, but a good enough golfer. How do you start the same way with everybody and just sort of tweak things? And tell me about the fitting process, how you'd run through it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So fitting process is someone that normally we'd like someone to book in, so we're a little bit more prepared for them. We understand, we find out if left or right-handed, and kind of the big kind of tick boxes there. But then in a custom fit, it's really about getting to know them as a golfer. And for me, one of the biggest part in any sort of custom fit is the consultation. Is I need to understand you as a golfer, and the more I can understand you, the better I can help you. So it's about asking them, where do you play? Are you having lessons? Where's your miss? What's your current bag, and what do you like and dislike about it? What do you want to improve? And are there any strengths that you're quite happy with that we shouldn't really touch? And are there any gaps in the bag? And what conditions do you play on? What courses do you play on? Do you only play on a links course? I fitted a young man yesterday for a set of irons, and he plays in probably one of the windiest courses in the world. This is that place I spoke to you about previously called Isle of Purbeck.
Yeah.
And it is probably one of the windiest courses in the world. You're on the Dorset cliffs of England, white, like kind of way up high, exposed.
Oh, yeah. Adding a visual here, Isle of Purbeck. Yeah, unbelievable stuff.
Yeah,
I feel like some scenes from The Count of Monte Cristo would have been filmed here. It's the kind of place that is slowly falling into the ocean, basically. And any golf course along the cliff is losing yardage over time, probably. But amazing.
Isle of Purbeck is basically playing on somewhere like those cliffs, not far away from those pictures.
Yeah.
There's the golf club there, and it's so windy. So I fitted this young man yesterday, and he hits a very low ball because that's his home club, and he doesn't want to get it high. Yeah. So, I didn't need to really get the ball up in the air too much. I did make improvements on the launch and the spin. Yeah. But for him, that was fine. So I'll ask them about where you're playing and, what ball flight would you like to see? What's your miss? And then we get them to hit, and I can learn more about their swing characteristics and really find out how they hit it and how they swing. Now, fitting is very different to coaching. I'm not there to fix your swing. I'm there to fix your golf clubs.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But we also have an element of, we don't just want to put a plaster over a bad swing. I want to give you a set of golf clubs, Mark, that as you progress, they still have a longevity aspect to them. They still have a high ceiling as you get better. Yeah. And they're not just, you're not going to outgrow them or outswing them in the next, 6 months to a year. A set of irons should last you for many years. So, it's bearing in mind a few things, and it's very, very personal, and it's really down to the golfer that's in front of you. And I would get them to obviously warm up with their bag, or, if it's irons, we'll get them to warm up their irons. If it's driver, we'll get them to warm irons and get them to hit their driver. And then we'll talk about that. Is that what you often see on the course? And, what ball flight would you like to see? And I use a TrackMan launch monitor in my custom fit bay, TrackMan being one of the best, or probably arguably is the best in the world, which uses a mixture of Doppler radar and camera. And I'm going to be looking at their club head speed. I'm going to be looking at their attack angles, their landing angles, their spin rates, their spin axis. I'll be looking at all of this stuff, dispersion, carry total, standard deviation, and really just, picking through. And, if I get a golfer who's very new, then it can sometimes be quite challenging to get a good strike. So we tend to hit more balls with a newer golfer because we want to fit you for your potential, just like your handicap is your potential best round.
Yeah,
I want to fit you for your potential best shot. So all we need is 2 or 3 really, maybe 4 or 5 really good shots that the golfer is happy with, and then I'll negate the outliers, and I'll negate like the ones that are really out there.
And then it's up to the teaching pro to make that good shot, more consistent over time.
It is, yeah. It is, yeah. So I'll go through all of that, and then for me the fitting process is about trying a couple of options that the golfer is desiring or thinks they want, and then they'll try a couple of options that I think they need, and then before I share any numbers with the golfer, I'll ask them to build a profile in their hands when they're holding the club, and I'll ask them, okay, so looks, feel, in the swing, on contact, what you can see with the eye, what's your favorite out of these 4 options? They will give me their ranking, and then I'll be, right, okay, come on over, let's have a look at the screen together, and then we'll go through it. And usually what the golfer sees and feels does correlate with the performance numbers that are being quantified and measured on the TrackMan. But sometimes it isn't, and they really like the look of, like, we get a lot of young lads coming in who's like, oh, I want a blade. I'm like, dude, you don't need a blade, because
that's
with all
me.
With all due respect, your strike quality just doesn't warrant that. And golf is a performance-based game, and if you want to score well, and that we might get so I have fitted blades for a golfer before who's just come in and says, Chris, I just want to golf clubs that look good. And I'm like, okay, and I'll try and argue it, but you can only lead a horse to water. But I really, we go through that. And before we get them hitting irons, let's say, we'll also do a static measurement of height and arm length, just to get a kind of a starting point for their specifications of length and lie angle. And then once we've settled on the model of the head, once we've settled on a shaft, and once we've picked one of the 4 models, we'll then focus on that model. We'll then try 2 or 3 different shafts, maybe one lighter, one heavier, one with a different launch profile or swing weight, and see which shaft works better in that head. And then we also look at grips as well, measure your hand, look at their grip. Do you need mid-size? Do you want standard? Do you want any extra wraps underneath? What compound do you need? And then once we've settled on that option, we'll then do some dynamic lie angle and dynamic specification testing. At my bay, we often use a lie board, but you can also use several other means to test dynamic lie, because standing there in a static measurement is very different to putting a swing on something. And especially with irons, lie angle will change during the swing. There's a very good video on that, which has just been released by Clubhouse Golf with Fraser and Mikey. What that used to be TXG, it's now Clubhouse Golf. But there's a very good video on dynamic lie angle that explains, how dynamic lie angle can change, what it can change, and also how it can be manipulated. Because again, everyone swings differently. Some people stand toe down, some people stand with the club face right up. But if it's woods and driver, we'll have the option of wrenching it up and using the neck sleeves to dial it in. The Cobra, the new Cobra Dark Speed clubs, in the neck, they have 33 settings, Mark. It's unreal. So, a lot of the modern clubs now have interchangeable tungsten weights. They have adjustable neck settings. So for woods and driver, we can really dial it in and make sure that once we've chosen the head, the shaft, the grip, we then get the dynamic specifications, make sure we like what we see, make sure the numbers are optimal, and then they put it in a bag and take it to the links.
Isn't this a positive, though, Chris? Like, knowing that the club they walk out of your shop with is not permanently the way that it is. There is still some weighting, some tweaking that you do. Golf technologies come along, and they're not, basically what you leave with can still be tweaked further. You don't have to go in and buy a brand new set of irons or wood. Is that accurate to say?
It is accurate, yeah. Obviously, wedges and irons are fairly fixed. They're fused and epoxied, so they are fixed. But when it comes to the woods and the top end of your bag, absolutely. I call it golfer evolution. You buy a driver head, like my driver head is, I think, the 2023 Cobra offering, and it's still relevant, it's still modern. But as my swing evolves, I can change the shaft. I can just de-wrench it and change it into a different shaft on my own. Or if I feel like my swing has evolved and I'm now coming, more into out and I'm finding the middle more, then I can take it from that draw and upright setting just to put it back to neutral or make it flatter.
So as long
I
as
think
you've
it's a
been
great
doing
thing.
this, have there been people who have come back to you and done tweaks with you in the shop that you were there from the
Every
beginning
day.
of the journey? Oh, really?
Every day, yeah, every day. We get people coming back in, and once we fit people, we don't just fit them and then shoo them away. It's hey, we're here to support you for your golf game and your golf journey. You need any advice, whether it's what ball you should be using to, I'm seeing this ball flight with my driver. How do I remedy that? We're there to help and talk to our customers and our golfers, and we get people coming in being like, hey, Chris, can you just change this setting? And what do you think? Is this the right one? And I'm like, well, yes, no, whatever. Maybe have a look at some different shafts, or maybe it's, hey, look, I think we should really get you into some newer options. But a lot of the time it's just tweaking it, and I think it's a fantastic thing that the golf industry has evolved into that realm where a lot of woods, hybrids included now, and drivers are fully adjustable, and they can be evolved so that they have longevity. Because golf equipment's not cheap, Mark. It's not cheap. And
No.
Me and my brother were just talking about this the other day. Like, the new tightest driver in England is 580 pounds.
Yeah,
And that's a lot of money.
Let's talk about cost then, Chris. Like, first of all, how much time, how many sessions does that initial setup take?
If we're doing a full bag, we're looking at 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours in the bay with me. A set of irons we can do in 45 minutes or an hour. Driver we can do in 45 minutes or an hour. We do putter fits as well. We do wedge fits. So it really depends on what the customer wants.
So outside of the cost of the clubs, which you won't go into here, like, what is the fitting service?
Fitting service at American Golf is completely free. It's one of our unique selling points. There's a lot of people out there, and these bespoke fitting centers that charge anywhere in England from £100 to £500 for a custom fit.
Yeah. If you don't buy the clubs from them, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's exactly the same in Singapore. So, you can get your fitting. You can get your fitting for free if you end up buying the clubs. But if what you need is just the fitting, and you need to hum and haw over it a little bit, then it costs you money. Yeah.
And look, I think there is a benefit to charging. It does stop what I call the tire kickers from coming in and just, today I want to hit this club. And I was like, well, last week you hit the other club, and the week before that you hit that club. And we do get a few repeat offenders, or repeat tire kickers, who they love their golf. But
just give them an exploding golf ball next time.
Yeah, that would be funny. I think our customer service rating might drop a fraction. But I think it's completely free of charge for American Golf, and we see a lot of golfers. We are largest retailer in the UK and Europe, so we do a lot of volume, and we have a lot of fitters, and that's just how we roll. We offer a free custom fit. We also do free gapping sessions and handovers, and like I said, the support continues after there with anything you need. But I think if you were to charge, it would mean that anyone booking the fit is dead serious about buying clubs. So it means that you're not going to waste some time that you might do if the fit is free. So there's pros and cons to it. I think offering a free custom fit, especially for beginner golfers and people who are still on the entry of their golfing journey, is brilliant because they get to experience it. And I get a lot of customer returners, and I get a lot of recommendations. Yesterday I had another guy that I fitted, and he came in and he was like, Chris, my dad said I have to come and see you. I need to come and see you. Because I fitted his dad for a driver, and he gained 20 yards.
Ooh.
And
he started taking money from his son. Yeah.
Yeah. And I fitted him for a new driver, and we got fantastic gains with him. And I don't think his dad knows yet, so he's going to be pretty pissed at me. But I get a lot of recommendations and repeat customers, which I think is testament to the service that we deliver at American Golf. I pride myself in service, and it's sales through service, basically. If you give a good service, people will come back. I fitted another lady on Friday, and it would have been quite easy to recommend a full bag of clubs for her, but she didn't need it. She needed a pitching wedge, a 7-iron, a hybrid, and a driver, and that was great for her, because she's a beginner golfer. The husband was there sitting in on the fit, and I think he was very appreciative that I wasn't just trying to drain her of money and give her clubs that are unnecessary at this point in time. Yes, in the future she may need a 9 or
like
whatever
any addicted
iron.
golfer. Like once you get them hooked, once you get them hitting that first few stripes on the course, like they'll be coming back for that 2 hybrid, and then the weighted back 4 iron that they can hit in multiple ways.
And if you fit someone honestly and sincerely and sensibly with their best interests in mind, after time once they understand more about golf, they will realize that, oh, actually, you know what, Chris did a fantastic job and he didn't rip me off. He made it clear and fun and enjoyable, and he improved my golf game, which is ultimately what we're doing it for. And so when that person does need fresh equipment, guess where they're going to go? They're going to come back to me because I gave them a fantastic experience. And that's kind of what we do at American Golf, or we aim to do. You know, we're not perfect, and no business is, but that's what we do. That's the crux of it, and I really enjoy it. You know, I get a real kick out of people coming back and thanking me. I've had customers bring me bottles of wine to say thank you, chocolate. So I love wine and chocolate.
I want you to leave us with 2 things. I want you to tell us what you love about being a club fitter, and what you love about, and what you would recommend to anyone who decides that this is maybe the pathway into golf life for their career.
Sure. So like I was just touching on, being a club fitter, you're helping people at the end of the day. And when you see a customer or a young lad with his, you know, an 18-year-old guy with his first set of custom fit irons, or it's an older golfer whose swing speed has slowed and they're getting so frustrated because they're not hitting it as far. When you get them what they want or what they need, and you see that satisfaction, and they've never struck it like they've struck it, you know, it gives you a real good sense of worth and value. So that also kind of draws upon what I used to do in fitness as well. Not so much health-based, but just golf-based now. So I think that's one aspect of I really enjoy about it. The other side of what I really enjoy about it is I'm an absolute golf geek and nerd, and I love the tech. as I have now seen firsthand. As long as we've been friends, I've never seen you go through anything about your work in that kind of detail, and certainly nothing about golf, because you were a novice when we first started golfing together. Absolutely, yeah. But I've been, excuse my language, balls deep in it for years now, and I absolutely love it. And I think, you know, I love hitting shiny new irons. I love testing out the new equipment and feeling it and seeing, well, what does this do? What does this feel like? And how do we change this? And what does this lie angle do? And when I train up new custom fitters, I tell them, get in the bay, test the equipment, see it, feel it, try it.
Play more golf. Okay, boss, no problem.
Gotcha. So I love, but also I love the mechanics of it. You know, I think a golf swing, coming from a biomechanics background, the golf swing is probably the hardest movement in any sport. Any sport, you know, it's the swing is fast,
and the ball being there and not moving, and everyone being quiet around you.
But it's like, you know, you're swinging it from anywhere from, you know, golfers with a more moderate swing speed of, like, say, 50 to 60 miles an hour, all the way up to 115, 120 miles an hour. And you're dealing with percentages of degrees, and that, you know, there's no other sport, and it uses pretty much every joint in the body. It's not a one plane of motion movement, you know, it's transverse, it's transverse movement, uses centripetal force. It's so complex that, you know, a small change in the hand kind of dropping a bit or raising a bit can just exacerbate the outcome. And I think that, you know, none of us are elite athletes. Then we lack that little word called talent. But we also sit on our backsides too much. We don't stretch enough. We chase the PGA highlights, and we have too higher expectations. But I love the fact that it's such a complex movement, and coming from a movement, you know, science movement background, I love seeing and associating what I can understand with anatomy and physiology and applying it to golf and helping customers.
What would you tell to a young person who wants to jump into or find an entry point into being a professional club fitter as a career?
Okay, so number one is play golf and enjoy it and have a passion for it. Number two is work at a pro shop or work at a golf club. Doesn't matter if you're a greenkeeper or a receptionist, you're in a golf environment. And you're going to learn more about it, and you may find that you don't like it as much as you initially thought, or you may fall in love with it. And then I'd say number 3, go down the golf education road. There are, in England, and I'm sure in the US, or I know in the US, there's a huge university platform of very top-tier golfers. But in England, they have golf colleges and golf universities. More specifically, if you do your PGA Professional in England, it's a 3-year university degree at Birmingham University. So you can go to golf college. You can do online courses. You can sign up to the big brand manufacturer educations that they have online. You've got you got the Titleist University. You've got the Ping platform as well, and TaylorMade. They all have a.
So each of the fitters, each of the brands actually has their own kind of education course as well, as opposed to just a collegiate experience or a community college type experience. Yeah,
exactly. So I spent time with the Ping European fitting team and done several days education with them, and I spent time at the TPI Center with the Titleist team for a couple of days learning from them, and we'll talk about the factories another day, which was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But that's what I'd recommend for people who are looking to get into it.
Amazing. What do you love about golf?
What do I love about golf? For me personally, golf was a salvation when I came back from overseas, and it was my clear my head space. It was my put my phone away, just don't think about too much, maybe meet some friends and socialize and catch up with people, or maybe try and better yourself. You're trying to better yourself. But for me, it was a real kind of zen peace of mind moment for me, in a sense that I love being outdoors. I love the fresh air, and I just love the openness and expanse of it. There's nothing better than a 7 a.m. tee time and you've got the whole course ahead of you, like our last round in Asia that we had. And I just like the simplicity of just trying to get that little white rock. You're going to hit that white rock with a stick, and you're going to get it in that hole that's way down there. And
you're going to hit it, you're going to find it or not find it, and then you're going to hit it again, and then you're going to try and find it, and then you can hit that again, and then and then it's going to go well, it's going to go not, but it's the process, right? Not the result.
Yeah. So that for me is what I enjoy about it, but also, another thing I like about it is you can play on the same courses that the tour pros play on. You can use the same equipment that the tour pros use to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And every now and then, you're going to hit a tour quality shot.
Absolutely. I think it's one of the few sports that you can play where you can actually every now and then just achieve what a tour professional can achieve in just a morsel, and you can feel that, and those are the ones that get you addicted to it. And honestly, I played a shot. I remember the last shot that I played. That was one of those like, fuck, I'm gonna have to come back here and pay another $300 to play this course again, because this shot is imprinted permanently in my mind. It was at Serapong. It was a 5-iron. It was over water. I lined up a fade to a back right pin. I knew the best miss, and I pured it, and it did exactly what I wanted to do, and I thought my way through the shot, and I was like, oh God, this is another, I've never been on the verge of like quitting the game of golf or deciding to play less golf, but I knew that it was one of those things that I'm just going to keep thinking about over and over and over, and it's going to make me go to the range and try to reproduce the shot and, hit a bunch more into the water the next time I try that shot. Yeah. But and
that's golf, Mark, so I would say that any golfer is one shot from tour and one shot from retirement. That's the way it is. and that's the beauty of it.
You can have both on the same hole. Yeah. Amazing. Where can people find you both in real life and online?
Sure. So you can find me at American Golf in Christchurch, Bournemouth. And I'm there most days. Even on my days off, I'll be on there. I'll playing on the course or on the range. But that's where you can find me, and that's americangolf.co.uk. If you want to book a fitting, you can go online and just book it online, or you can come down to the store and have a chat, and we'll sort you out and give you the best experience possible. Online, I'm not so active on social media too much anymore. I used to be quite a bit, but I've kind of toned it down a bit, and I didn't feel it's necessary. But if you really want to find me, you can find me on Instagram, and my name is _Charlie_Farley_, and that's Charlie with an IE.
What's coming up next for you?
What's coming up next for me is this year. I'm grinding quite hard on my golf game, so I'm thinking about bringing my handicap, or trying to get my handicap lower so I can do my PGA professional. That's a goal of mine this year. I don't know if I can do it. There's not many 40-year-old guys out there who have picked up golf as quickly as I have and have had the luck that I've had. So I'm trying to aim for that. And if I don't reach it, so what? I'm going to be a better golfer for trying. And what is also next? I'm going to continue to be working hard for American golf. So if anyone out there needs any help and support, you know where to find me. Just enjoy being a golfer. Really, that's what's next for me at the minute. I think the world these days is a very serious place, and it's nice to find some peace and quiet on a golf course. So if you're thinking about it, just get out there and play.
Amazing. Really, this is going to be the place for people who and reasons to love golf. And Chris, I can't thank you enough for being our number 2 guest. Number 1 in our hearts, number 2 on our docket. The Deuce,
pleasure, my honor.
hot, steamy number 2. Thank you very much. And from the bottom of my heart, I wish you all the best. And I look forward to seeing you again.